Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. I hope you're doing well here the day after Thanksgiving. I don't know about you, but I sure hope you got enough to eat. And if you're like many of us, we sort of just want to lay around for a little while today. You know, it's so easy to take a bunch of really good stuff when it's sitting there right in front of us. And I suppose giving thanks, being thankful is in the same vein. So I have a passage to share with you today from Colossians chapter 3 and verse 15. We find these words. And let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as members of one body, you're called to live in peace, and always be thankful. Paul here is talking to the church in Colossia. He's talking to the Christians. Now, one could probably say this doesn't apply to anybody but Christians, but I think it does. I think the Bible is a guide to living. As someone once called it, it's the manufacturer's handbook. You want to know how the thing's supposed to work? Well, go look it up in the scriptures. And the New Testament gives us a picture of God that's just amazing. So here Paul says, he starts out by saying, and let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your heart. Now I know some of y'all didn't have a great Thanksgiving. I remember when I was growing up, we always did Thanksgiving at Grandma and Granddad's house. And invariably, some of the aunts and uncles would get into a fight with the other one, and it would end up being anything but a peaceful celebration. They did the same thing at Christmas and New Year's, if that's a help. I never could figure it out. But here, Paul is saying, let the peace that comes from God, from Christ, rule in your heart. What peace is that? Well, it's peace in every sense of the word you can think of it. Lack of problems, which of course, in this world, we're not going to be completely rid of. Lack of anxiousness. Well, now that's something we can do. We can get rid of that if we will let God work. Lack of fear. Goodness, Jesus said, don't be afraid. So many times I can't count them all. And also the peace could be the absence of war. Now, from a political, military standpoint, I don't know if that's ever going to happen in this world. The countries, generally speaking, are determined to base their future on power. Who has the most power? And that's led to all kinds of actions and destruction and all kinds of spending that could have been spent on helping others. Oh, I know, some say having a strong military is helping others because that gives everybody the freedom. And I'm not going to argue about that point. But I'm going to agree with some of the politicians and some of the generals who say war never solves anything. You know, war between people never solves anything. It just heightens the anger. And whoever wins gets to gloat, and whoever loses gets to plot how to win the next time. And that's not what this passage is all about. This passage is letting God's peace, not giving up, not refusing to do anything, not being a doormat to get walked on, but the kind of peace that says, you know, God knows what he's doing. I may not know what he's doing, but he does. And that's all that really matters if you think about it. And so Paul says, let that peace rule your heart. Dominate it. Let it be the thing that is important to you. That's a big, big idea. And then he goes on and he says something else. For as members of one body, you're called to live in peace. As people who try to follow God, we are called to live in peace. Do everything we can. I know it's not going to happen 100% of the time. As long as it involves someone else, it can happen 100% of the time within us. And a lot of people I talk to don't have a lot of peace. But the key to all of this is in the last phrase. And here it is. And always be thankful. Being thankful means to appreciate, to recognize that you have been given a gift, and to understand that you didn't deserve it. It was just given to you. Paul says here to always be thankful. Live a life of gratitude for everything, big, little, small, in between. Even be thankful for disappointments. Not that you got disappointed, but in the midst of that, you can still see God at work. Being thankful is hard. It just is. But it is doable. And it starts every day anew. You get up in the morning, and the first thing you do is give thanks for something. If you can't think of anything else, be thankful that you woke up. A lot of people in this country are not going to wake up tomorrow. They're going to die. And maybe they're ready for the next life, and maybe they're not. But if you wake up, you already have something to be thankful for. And then the list goes on. Thankful for what you're having for breakfast, even if it's something small. If you're heading to a job, thankful for the job. Even if you don't like the job, you have one. A lot of people in this world would love to have a job, but they don't have the opportunity. Thankful for your family if you have one. Even if they're difficult to live with, you still have them. Thankful for the beauty around you, for what God's done. You see, the key to peace is being thankful. If you're not going to thank God for things, you're not going to find any peace either. And to live a life without peace is just mind-boggling. So I like to invite you, now that Thanksgiving's over, we're starting to think about Christmas. Think about giving thanks every day. Try it. Try it for a month. First thing, see what happens. See what happens to you. Well, thanks for listening. God bless you. Hope you have just a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'll talk to you again.